Okay, we're going to get into Pedernales box number 2. Lots of them. If you don't know where I get the names of these things, I'm going to show this book again. It's a well-used book, and we'll look at the page where it has Pedernales, and I'll read from it. Okay, Pedernales, Central Texas. The most common dart point type in Central Texas, Pedernales points vary greatly in overall size, types of barbs, and technology depending on the reworking of a specimen during its lifespan. Its body is triangular with a more or less rectangular concave-based stem. The stem is often thinned by a broad flute-like flake on one or both sides. On preforms, stems are usually finished before the body is thinned and the lateral edges straightened. There's so much variation in Pedernales that various scholars have reviewed data on the type, for example stem forms, with the goal of defining regional or temporal differences within the type. Mahoney and others, 2003. The large number of points at many Central Texas sites have led to some very useful detailed analysis of the type, including the work from blah 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 blah. Okay? So they are working on it. And they're finally coming around to understanding that the hafting element of the point is extremely important in distinguishing what types or what variants they are. Not the flaking on the blade, as an example. Alright, what are we going to do? We're going to look at these artifacts. Zoomed in looking at them. Oh yes. So we get to see how they punched out the notches and made the stems and did the asymmetrical work on the blade. This is worked. This is worked. This is not finished on this side. Something happened to make this very lopsided. It broke or something on this side and has been reworked. And it was discarded eventually. I don't think they even finished up this side at all. Well, maybe they did. And it's just, wonkiness is just the nature of this particular type. But it looks like that should be finished out more. In my opinion, you know, it should have a nice finished out type barb instead of what it's got now. These are a different type, I think. I need a type that doesn't have much of a concavity. Yeah, this just doesn't look finished to me. And it looks like this needs to be thinned up here more so that it is thickest right here. So this big mass right in there looks like it needs to go. This mass right in here so that it's, you know, it's thickest right here. But it may not be a Pedernales type. It might be something else. Yeah. Some of you may be wondering how they do this with natural tools. It's not that hard. It really isn't. It's a pain in the butt, but it's not hard. It's just tedious, and you have to resharpen your natural tools often. And be very careful about how you flake, especially with the hammerstones. The hammerstones will crush the edges a lot. You've got to be, you know, you can adapt. You just got to adapt to the material that you're using for your tools. It's not that hard, really. Asymmetrical. These are all, so far I have not found anything, you know, very symmetrical. Although this is kind of symmetrical actually. It just broke, the bar broke off. But this one is actually pretty symmetrical. Yeah. I should save that as one of the symmetrical ones and see how many we get of the symmetrical versus the non-symmetrical. See, this one is not symmetrical at all. And the edge treatment is not the same. This looks like the original edge and this looks like a resharpened edge. But they're treated differently. Lots of little flaking here, not so much little flaking on this side. I don't know, I might take that back. It's probably the same. It just seems like there's more flakes on that side. Yeah, they don't care about symmetry. Yeah. But very well made, you know, because there's no step fractures on the surface. It's all smooth. You know, it has impact. Like it, you know, they shot it at something. Heavily broken. Yeah. This is nice material. But they made, see how crude it is? Let's get something that looks like it's made out of something really bad material-ish. This material is not as good as this material. And this is very crude looking compared to this. So even with the most excellent material possible, this is probably high-grade raw or high-grade heat treat. It's high-grade, one of the two. But because I've worked this kind of stuff before, but it's all crude and quickly made, and it might even be fractured in manufacture. Yeah. This is not easy stuff to work. It's got to be heat treated, so this is probably lightly heated or something. Although they did have trouble with this spot on the edge, which is unusual. It's unusual to see that on the stem. It's just that's just one of those times where there's a very difficult spot and they just left it in. If you don't leave in those little warts like that, you're not making them like they used to. Good edges. Yeah. Worn down. Not that sharp. This one, down here it is. Up here, not so much. Well, I don't know. It's pretty good. Yeah, these pointed based ones, let's see. I can group them all with similar stems. Some of them are remarkably similar. Similar in size, probably in weight. And workmanship. Yeah. These are probably same time period, just maybe a different time period than this one, because the bases change. Remarkably similar, these two. Like made by the same guy. That's kind of unusual treatment here on the stem. It's a big blowout. I can't tell if that was finished or not. It's probably not finished. There's just too many step fractures on it. Yeah. Very aggressive, this flake here. That's an aggressive pop out for sure. See, that's interesting. This type This looks kind of like a Marshall point, right? But Marshalls have shorter stems than the Pedernales. That's how I can tell the difference. Well, that's what it says in the book anyway. The Marshalls have a short stem and the Pedernales have a longer stem. But sometimes you can't tell the difference. The Marshalls came after the Pedernales and they're easier to make. That's been heavily reworked, and again, impact fracture. Probably impact after impact after impact, and then this is the last attempt, or yeah, just before it broke. That was the last useful bit. Yeah, it feels like tough stone, but it's thick right here. This is hard to do unless you have a lot of practice. To do this, make it thick right there, every time, on every one, on a consistent basis. It is difficult to do that. That's a lot of control when you can do that. Keep it thick right there. It's a nice study on edges. It has serrations on it. It's a good study piece for how to make this type of edge. It's very carefully done. You know, you get that, and then you get one of these. The sharper the edge, the harder it is to see the edge. So yeah, this is a good study piece. It's been reworked because you can see that how delicate that barb is. They don't start out that delicate. Yeah, lots of damage. How did they make these thinning flakes, or these fluty things? I think some of these were done with pressure. In fact, most of them I think were done with pressure. I do those with indirect percussion. You don't have to use a horizontal punch. You can actually use a vertical punch to punch these out, these little flutes. You can use a vertical punch to do that. But I use a horizontal punch. So much easier. But see, these are pressure flakes, or what appear to be pressure flakes on that side. There's a heat pop on this one. Pressure flakes to thin it down. Never know, you could, these might just be, you know, heavy pressure. Pop those out. It's only on side A. Side B is not so good. And there's an impact fracture for sure. Heat damage on this one. Yeah. So yeah, these are not, you know, equally pointy or equally thick. See, there's still, this one's still stubby. That one's nice and thin. It's probably been reworked, so the base is done. But it's lumpy on this side and nice and shaped on that side. It even looks like it has a ding, or existing crack within the stone. They just worked around it. They didn't care. They left it in. That has a nice edge to it, and it's sharp still. It's quite sharp. It looks a little bit damaged though, but it's still quite sharp. This one. Yes, yes. It's curved though. So I don't know. Probably a knife. When it's curved, I'm thinking knife. There's a small one. These are small dart points. But you never know. The small ones could be the knives and the big ones could be the dart points. It's hard to tell. Except for the impact fractures. When it's got an impact fracture, that's probably a projectile point. Different base styles, different stem styles. It's good to see the cross sections. When it's broken like that, it's easy to see the cross sections. But yeah, no special edge sharpening technique. You know, there's no parallel flaking on any of these, as far as I can tell. Not even on the really well made edge ones. Like this is not parallel flaking. That's just random flaking, and it's got a perfect edge to it. Yeah. It's all random, but perfect. Let's put that in the unusuals box. Nice and thick. This kind of stuff is very tough material if it's not heated. I got some Medina County chert that looks just like this and naps and ends up being just like this. And if you don't heat it, it's hard to work with. And how would you work on it? With natural tools? Thick and narrow. This is thick and narrow. Yeah, some of these are pretty thin. This is pretty thin by comparison. Impact fracture. Slight curve, or at least it's offset slightly. It's flat on one side and bulgy on the other. Someone was asking, does that mean they're made on large flakes or spalls and not individually knocked out of the nodule? You know, you take a nodule that's roundish and then get 1 point out of it, or do you spall it out and get 2 or 3 points out of that nodule? I'm thinking they did both, but most of the time I think they would do the flake thing, large spall or large flake, and make the point out of that. This flat spot could be part of the original flake scar. That was the flat side of this large flake. Yeah. And the fluting is not consistent. You know, sometimes it goes wild, right? Sometimes it's tame. They don't care. Big thinning flake or regular thinning flake, didn't matter. Funny how it snaps, but it doesn't snap. It doesn't take the path of least resistance to the end of to the bottom of that notch. It just goes straight across the barb. It's funny how that happens. I don't get it. That's strange physics. That's what it is. Strange flint-knapping fracturing physics. Heat damage. This one I could feel it has a curve in it right away. Come on. See that? Highly curved. It's not finished. Well, on this side it's not. This side looked like it was reworked. So maybe on knives they didn't finish the edges. They just worked one edge first, and when it got down to this point they would start working on the other edge. And you know, do the preliminary sharpening and stuff. And maybe they just left one edge wonky and dull while they used only the other edge, and they use it as a knife. And then when this gets worn out on that side, they flip it over and do a pass to finish out this edge and then start using it. That's what this one it would indicate to me. They wore out one side and they were going to wear out the other side, but it snapped somehow. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of these are the same shape. So it's hard to tell if they've been resharpened or that's how they made them. Because you can get a bunch of these together and they're very similar in the width and the barbs. Right? Maybe not the length. Wondering if they start out with the width this way and the length just changes and the width stays the same. I got another one like this too, I think. Somewhere in here, there's more like this in here. But see how similar? They're very, very similar. Yeah, tough stone. Tough stone and cruddy. You know, lots of step fracturing, very thick. Edge work is not that great. So yeah, they had trouble with the tough stone. It's not always beautiful pieces out of tough stone. Very pointy, very delicate. These things break. This can break off in the haft so easily, but it didn't. It looked like it snapped. I don't know if that's an impact snap or what, but it, you know, they must have had some really good glue that prevented any movement in the haft, because any movement at all, even a little bit, will snap these delicate ears off. You put glue in there and the glue is not that great and it starts to crunch around in there, these are the first things to break off. So the glue must have been really good. See, they break off like this in the haft. If any movement whatsoever, and they'll snap right off. How do I know? I don't know. Yeah, classic big old thinning flake right there. So that it's thickest right here. Good pop out flakes in the notches. Nice edge work. But like I said, none of these are really super sharp. There may be one or two that are, but other than that, all these are not super sharp. Yeah, even the really thin ones, they're not super sharp. And this looks like a heat treat. Nice pop out on that side. Yeah. Some of you guys are funny in the comment section. You're going to start making them like they used to, aren't you? Oh, yes. You're not going to be too concerned with the symmetry or step fracturing, and you're going to feel better about yourself. Yep. And then someone's going to come up to you and ask you, "You made that?" And then you go, "Yeah, that's a reproduction of a real one." Yeah, but why is it lumpy right there? It's got a lump right there. Why? Because the real ones had lumps on them. Yeah. They even have warts. Remember that one in the beginning? Had a little wart on it. They have these little warts that they can't get rid of. This is not the one I showed before, but I call that a little wart. Because you can't get rid of those. Unless you have a cheater tool. Apparently they didn't have cheater tools. Or maybe some of them did. That's why you don't see the warts on everything. Where's the other one? This other one has a really good one on it. And this is kind of like a wart right there too. See that little island right there? Make yours with islands like this. Why? Because that's the way they used to make them. You can leave the warts on them. And I can't find that one that had a big one. Anyway, see they left those in there. You'll get people that ask you what the heck you're doing, but they don't know. You have to forgive them because they know not what they speak of. All right. Nice and it's nice and thin, but the sharpness it gets me that they're not sharp. This one is okay. Yeah, it's okay, but up here it gets a little dull, and it's, you know, they can be using them like crazy, but they should be resharpening them. After every use, you resharpen so that if you have an emergency and you need to cut something really fast, you're not going to go, "Oh, I forgot to resharpen after I cut the last buffalo." Yeah, you got to, you know, keep them resharpened all the time. Always supposed to be sharp, not dull. It does not pass inspection. Yeah. Okay. That was my little rant for the day. But yeah, these are thousands of years old. I don't expect them to have perfect edges, and they could have been rattling around in the bags for a long time. And these edges do get dull very easily, especially if they're rattled around in bags all mixed together, or wherever, you know, even in, you know, on the ride home from the site, they could be tumbled around in buckets, and then they don't feel sharp. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But it's pretty common with everything. I've got artifacts the same way. I look and I say, "Ooh, such skill, such beauty, such symmetry, and such pizzazz." And that little record scratch. No, it's not sharp. Yeah. It's got a wart on it. See the wart? Yeah, it's not sharp. It's kind of, a little bit. It'll poke your eye out. But these are sharper down here. A lot of times these are sharper down here than they are on the sides. That's what I don't get. I don't understand it. Although this one's pretty good. Yeah. This one is nice and thin too. I can feel the sharpness right there. But I feel a sharpness on here too. Especially right there in the notch. And right here inside this, yeah, sides of the stem are sharp, kind of, sort of. Getting to be same-o. I still got 2 more boxes of this stuff, right? Yeah, I got 4 Pedernales boxes. Or this is the second one. I put only enough to go to 30 minutes on each one, on each box. If I take more than 30 minutes, that means I'm yapping too much. That's heavily reworked, I imagine. And I can imagine really well too. Oh yeah. But hopefully you appreciate this for the data and not necessarily the commentary. I'm trying to show you the data. Now I can write down the dimensions of each one. I'm thinking of taking pictures of each one next to a scale, you know, horizontal scale and a vertical scale, and setting this down, take pictures, flip it over, and then have like a slot in the background and stick it sideways. Take 3 pictures of each, but there's hundreds of artifacts. 3 pictures of each, and that's like triple the hundreds. I don't know. I guess I can do it. Yeah, we have the technology. Just not the patience. Photography is not my thing either. I start taking pictures and I get anxiety because they don't come out perfect. You know, my finger goes in front of the lens and it's blurry. I take a whole bunch of pictures and I had to review all of them again just to make sure that the finger didn't go wander in front and make everything blurry. Because I take pictures with my phone. I think we have an old camera that I can take pictures with the camera and not the phone. But I don't know where it is. In our house, nothing stays in one place at any time, at any given time. It gets moved for one reason or another. This edge is kind of swoopy, wonky, or whatever. Alright, almost done. We're almost there. Let's see, we got a little bit left. Just a little pieces. Broken off stems. Broken off stems. High grade. This is high grade chert. Yeah, this is some of the high grade amoeba stuff. And they don't care it's high grade. They just go to town on it and get it done quick. It's not really perfectly done. It seems like sometimes the better the material, the more wonky the pieces are. Like this is excellent material also. I'm familiar with this stuff. I'm familiar with this stuff. These two are excellent materials and they're all wonky. Yeah, it's broken a lot, but you can see the difference in thicknesses. They left that wart right there. They can easily take that off. This is a high grade material as well. Although they did do a good job on this one. Yeah. But they left a wart on that side. Right there. And it's not sharp. No. Little bit. It's always a little bit. It's never like, wow, that's pretty sharp. No, it's never like that. It's like, ooh, that's kind of good. Or, nah, it's kind of sharp. Or it's dull. It's sharper down in here. Right down in there than anywhere else. Right? Before I speak too soon. Yeah, it feels sharper down in there. Well, that's probably because that's a protected area and it didn't get banged around or anything. But it's not... The dullness here, if it's sharp here and it's dull there, and it's... You say, well, it's dull because of the ground action. It would have dulled this too right here if it was something having to do with being buried. But it's very, very sharp right there. And not sharp here. So it has to do with use wear or something. That's so tiny. Dang it. That is so tiny. And they still used it. Some might say that, yeah, because it's a drill, dude. It's a drill. Yeah, yeah. I don't think so. I think they shot it at somebody. Someone that thought it was a drill. I'll show you a drill. Come over here. Let's see. This is sharp, actually. Pretty good. Pretty good. Sharper there though, right there. Then over here. Although it's not bad. Yeah, it's not too bad. Really good right there. Yeah. High grade stuff here. A lot of these are high grade shirts. Alright. That's it for that batch. We got 2 more to go. Let me see if I can get a thumbnail with some good ones. Yeah. Go back out to a regular zoom. See, these are very similar types, so let's not do that. Let's get a different type. Yeah, some different types of bases. Almost lost that one. Is that the same size? No, it's not the same size. Alrighty. That's it.